Good morning and welcome to Fast Horses Today. Today is Friday. It is April 18th and it is Good Friday. So word to all of those observing the Good Friday holiday. We're back after a week hiatus. Santa Anita had a week off, so we took a week off here from Fast Horses Today, and we're back at it today now on Friday, April 18th, Santa Anita's Hollywood Meet opening day. So I do have a couple horses that I like today that I'm going to make win bets on, and they happen to fall in the latter half of the card, so it made the late pick 5 worth a play today. So let's get started here on Friday, April 18th. Fifth race is the start of the late pick 5. It has approximate post time about 3:08 Pacific time, so 5:08 here in the Central Time Zone. And we lead off with a 6-furlong grass event. Now these are California state-bred allowance, first-level allowance fillies, and these are 3-year-olds only. So, I'm going to put 4 horses in this race to try to get this pick 5 started, and then move on from here to go with the singles that I like there later on. We're going to first start with the 3-horse, was Lava Lucy for Luis Mendez, Edwin Maldonado. This girl, she ended up breaking her maiden at this very distance, 6 furlongs on the flat grass, in a California maiden special weight a couple starts ago. She ran very nicely with a big speed figure. She followed that up with a second place finish in a first level allowance like this is here at 6 furlongs. Was originally scheduled on the turf, but they took it off, so it was a dirt race. She ran very well, so this doesn't look like really the surface matters for this girl. It's just a matter of she gets out there and goes. So as we know, Luis Mendez, definitely a speed trainer, trains them to get them out fast and go. Maldonado fits this horse very well, 2-1, so we'll put Lava Lucy in here. Going to also put the 4-horse, was Me So Fancy for Leonard Powell, and Rispoli takes the call. They're putting blinkers on this girl after 4 starts without him. Now she's done a nice job in her record. She's had 4 starts, has a win in 3 seconds. She's tried a couple different distances. She ended up winning at this particular distance of 6 furlongs on the flat grass here at Santa Anita. She got that job done. They ended up sending her long, and she got beat on the wire 2 times after that. Once in the California Cup Oaks, she got beat by Take Another Card, who seems to be a pretty nice Calbred. So this girl can definitely run. They put the blinkers on, so maybe they're seeing a focus issue or something. So, we'll trust Leonard Powell here. I think Powell needs to really step it up and do well in this spring-summer meet here. 3-1 on Me So Fancy, shortening up to 6. If there's a big speed duel or something, I think Rispoli will have this girl finishing up quickly. I'm going to also put the 6-horse, was Cayucos for Richard Mandela. Kyle Frey takes the call. Now, Frey's been on this horse twice. She was all the rage last year at Del Mar. She broke her maiden. She was a big favorite her first time out, so word must have been out on her. And she, really just kind of took care of a California-bred maiden special weight field pretty easily. She ended up being a horse named Hot Girl Walk, who came back to run well at Del Mar. They followed this up by putting her in the Generous Portion, which is a stakes race there in the Del Mar summer meet. And, she was a big favorite that day. Fought for the lead and just ended up getting beat by Hot Girl Walk. So Hot Girl Walk returned the favor and ended up beating Cayucos. So, off the layoff, Mandela should have this horse ready. This horse is very well bred for a Calbred by Omaha Beach. And, we'll see if maybe she comes off the layoff and comes out smoking. I think Mandela's got a couple live ones today. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. And then finally, I'm going to put the 8-horse, who was Nell's Legacy, for Phil D'Amato, Antonio Fresu. Now, they paid $325,000 for this girl. And, that's a big purchase price overall, but certainly even bigger purchase price when you're talking about a Calbred filly. I always kind of wonder when people pay this much for a Calbred, what is it that they're looking for? Because, I don't know. I don't know how you get your investment back. So, we'll see if this, this horse pays off for them. But anyway, Nell's Legacy, she broke her maiden first time out at Del Mar in a 5-furlong grass race, which, she ended up getting out and beat, blitzed the field, ended up being a winner by 4+ lengths, which that's a lot, for a short race like that. So I'm sure they were excited about her. She followed that up with a couple second place finishes and, bit of a break. We haven't seen her since early February, and she was a favorite that day. Ended up, running up close and just fading. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe she needed a break or something. But we'll put Nell's Legacy in at 8-1. Maybe she's an upsetter here. So we've got the 3, 4, 6 and 8 in the 5th race. All right, now let's move over to the 6th race of the day. 6th race is a mile on the dirt. This is a first level allowance, open allowance race for 3-year-olds and up, and these are fillies and mares. And, nice field signed on. You've got a horse like Jubilant Joni, who's, certainly been a nice claim for Jeff Mullins. She's coming off a streak of winning 3 out of her last 4, off a claim from Mullins. So she's 5-2 in the program. I don't have her today. She's been a nice story for that barn, but I do have a horse that I really like in this race. I'm going to make a win bet on her, and I'm going to single her here in the pick 5. And that would be the 3-horse Quick Brown Fox for Richard Mandella. Kazushi Kimura takes over today. So, they don't have Flavian Pratt to ride there, for this meeting. And, Mandella does use Kimura, and Kimura has certainly won races for the Mandella barn. And, this horse, she's a 4-year-old now. She's lightly raced, only 2 starts. She's bred royally. She's, out of the mare Bast and by Justify. And Bast was some runner herself. I mean, she was a few years back, I remember Bast was all the rage in the 2-year-old ranks at Del Mar back in the summer of, I don't remember, it's been several years. But, she was a big maiden winner. She ended up winning the Del Mar Futurity, I recall. She came out of the Bob Baffert barn, and she was really just kind of all the rage. So I know she had won a couple grade ones, and then injury happened, and she wasn't racing anymore. So now she's a mom, and looks like she's produced a nice one here. I know this horse was bet heavily in her first time out last spring, about a year ago, where she ran her first start in a 7 furlong race, ended up getting beat on the wire in a 7 furlong dirt race. That's a tough spot to be in first time out, but she ran really well and just got beat on the wire. So something apparently happened. She had almost a year off. They brought her back early March. She ended up running 6 furlongs on the grass. Now I don't know that was really the goal, but I think sometimes in Southern California, it's not a matter of where you can run. Sometimes it's you have to put horses in, whether it's dirt or turf, because they're just filling races. So it looked like Mandella, was put this horse in 6 furlongs on the grass, and she just really passed with flying colors. And I think that was just let's get her maiden broken, let's get this girl's career going. So, she really pulled Flavian Pratt out of the saddle, coming around the turn in the stretch, into the home stretch. And it was kind of an odd move, like very quick and sudden, almost like she pulled Pratt out of the saddle. So he had to kind of regather her. And then this horse exploded in the stretch. So honestly, I think she could do anything based on her breeding. She's run well on the dirt first time out. She broke her maiden on the grass, back to the dirt here at a mile. So this is her 2-turn test. Mile shouldn't be a problem for a horse like this. She's 3-1. I really like her today. I'm going to single her, and I'm going to make a win bet on the 3, Quick Brown Fox. All right, now let's go to the next race of the day. Next race being the 7th race. And this is a 6 furlong flat grass event. This is a second level allowance race. Fillies, 3-year-olds and up. And, second level allowance, or if you want to put your horse in for $80,000, you can do that as well. And there's certainly a couple that have done this. So today, I like the 2. I got 2 horses here, and I am going to put a win bet. I like the 2, Kiss by Fire for Peter Urton. Now, she does qualify for this race because Urton's putting her in for the $80,000 tag. Now, I think that, trainers in California have to start making more moves like this, to fill fields and, putting horses in for tags. If someone claims them, they claim them. And I think we've seen more of this lately out there in Southern California where, connections are putting their horses in for the tag and running them. And it's worked out for them in some cases. So Kiss by Fire has a ton of speed. She's shown a ton of speed on the grass in these grass sprints. She's run at all the different, grass distances in California. She's run at Del Mar on the 5 furlong grass, course. She's run down the hill. She's run on the flat grass. And she's kind of passed all the tests there. So, they took her east this past, over the past several months, and she ran on the Tapeta over there at Turfway, and I don't know, maybe she just didn't like it. It looks like, the bulk of her great work has been on the turf. So we'll give her a shot here. She's got a ton of speed. Urton, brings the horse back off a bit of a layoff. Fraser takes the call, 7-2. We'll put Kiss by Fire in here. I'm going to go against the favorite, who is Pushiness. Pushiness for Michael McCarthy. Rispoli takes the call again. She's 3-2 in the program. This is a nice Calbred, a Rapoli stable. Always nice to see Rapoli running horses in Southern California. Congratulations to them. This horse is a 3-2 favorite. I'm going to go against her, thinking maybe she might bounce off that last race where she ran in the Irish O'Brien. And I think, she might be running up against a little tougher horses here, some more accomplished horses. We're going to go against Pushiness. I am going to put the 6 horse in, and I'm going to make a win bet on the 6 as well, who is Royal Charter for Leonard Powell. I mentioned Powell. I like Powell in an earlier race. Powell's another trainer, should do well in this this meeting, spring summer meeting over there at Santa Anita. This horse's last two races, I liked. She ran in this second level allowance. She ran down the hill both times, and I thought she ran very respectable races. And she ran up against a couple really nice turf fillies. In Queen Maxima, she ended up coming second. Queen Maxima was probably the best turf filly sprinter there at Santa Anita in the winter meet. Ran second to her. In her next start, she ran up against Venganza. Venganza was on a 2-race win streak as well. So those two were down the hill. I don't know. She ran okay races. I think the flat grass shouldn't be a problem here. I know there's a lot of speed signed on. So I think Royal Charter looks like the kind of horse where she can stalk and pounce. And I do like the jock switch. Herrera was riding her before. Hernandez takes the call here. I think Hernandez can certainly improve this horse. She's 5-1 today. I'm going to put a win bet on Royal Charter. For pick 5 purposes, I'm going to put the 2 and the 6. All right, now let's go to the next race of the day, being the 8th race. This is a mile on the dirt, and this is a starter allowance race, which, I'm thinking we're going to see more of this type of these type of races written as well to fill fields. This is a have started your horse for 10,000 or less in 24-25, or if you want to put your horse in for 12.5, you could do that as well. So I'm thinking they're going to probably have more of these type of races, written. I know these were really more styled for the Northern California horses, but as time has passed on, they've kind of opened it up where some of the Southern California horses can run in these as well, so it's a merging of both. So this one doesn't look like it's really necessarily a Northern California style race. So I'm going to put 3 horses in this race. I hope one of these 3 can advance the ticket. I'm going to put the 1 who is Kingmeister, Kazushi Kimura riding for Bill McLean. Now McLean had a rough meet in a Santa Anita winter meet. So let's see if he turns it around here. Certainly a guy who could win races. He's been around for a long time. This horse ran in this level last time, ended up coming second to Crown Magic, who we'll talk about Crown Magic. I do have him in there as well today. This horse with Kimura having the 1 hole, looking for him to make a good trip here, have an easy ride on that first turn, and then just, finish up when the run-in is supposed to start. He's 6-1, so we'll put Kingmeister in here. Going to also put the 2 horse, who is Crown Magic, for Isidro Tamayo and Frank Alvarado. Now, this horse has been running at Santa Anita in these style races, and these restricted races, starter allowance, has won 2 out of 3. So certainly like Santa Anita, and Frank Alvarado's been on this horse the whole time. And we've talked about Frank. Frank's a veteran rider who certainly has a lot of wins under his belt. Rode at Santa Anita, rode in the Southern California circuit for many years before taking it up north, because that circuit was way too tough for him at the time. But, it's not the case anymore. So a guy like Frank Alvarado can show his woolly veteran status and get things done, which he has. So Crown Magic coming off a win, 9-2. This horse seems to be in shape. In this starter level allowance type of race, you look for horses that are in shape. The connections don't want to lose them. And, they claimed this horse for 10. So, they're putting him back in a starter allowance, trying to get some money back. So I'll put Crown Magic in here. And then finally, I'm going to put the 7 horse. 7 horse being Zimba Warrior for Jesus Aranga and Edwin Maldonado. Now, Zimba Warrior has definitely been around for a long time and certainly been a warrior on the Southern California circuit, in the claiming level races. So, this is the kind of horse where, now if they're riding these starter allowance races, Zimba Warrior can certainly do well and excel in these type of races because he's certainly an accomplished horse. It's a cool horse, 8-year-old gelding, 50 starts, 10 wins, 5 seconds, 10 thirds. So, definitely runs. He's coming off a 2-race win streak where he's won by open lengths in the claiming ranks, so now they're putting him in for a starter allowance. So Aranga barn is very, very sharp barn. They don't get a lot of chances, but they certainly win, and they know how to place their horses. Zimba Warrior 3-1 today. I expect a nice race out of Zimba Warrior, so I'll put the 1, 2, and the 7. All right, now let's go to the last race of the day. Last race being the 9th race. Has approximate post time about 5 o'clock Pacific, so 7 o'clock here in the Central Time Zone. We're going to cap this off with a 3-year-olds and up maiden special weight race, California bred, 6 furlongs on the flat grass. Now, I find this race to be pretty open. I've got 4 horses here in coverage and hoping that coverage, is enough to cap off a winning pick 5 ticket. I'm going to put the 2 horses Flyover for John Sadler. This is a first starter, 4-year-old first starter, so this horse is certainly, taking his time to get ready, but shows some nice works. Hernandez takes the call. He's 5-2 in the program. We'll see if this horse can get out, and run first time out here in a field that, it's just probably average in talent. We're going to put the 3 horse was Incredible Moves for Doug O'Neill, Billy Anton Georgie on the horse here. This horse by Lakerville, and it's surprising. Now that I think about it, I haven't seen Lakerville in a while. Lakerville was certainly a sire that was used quite a bit. I think it was Barry Abrams was his coming out of his barn. But anyway, I haven't seen a Lakerville in a while. But this horse by Lakerville, 8-1 in the program. I'm kind of wondering if maybe this horse might need a start. Workouts are just kind of okay. But we'll put this horse in. Doug O'Neill, certainly a crafty guy. Hard to, go against him. So we'll put the 3 horse in here. It was Incredible Moves. Then I'm going to put the 4 horse in. 4 horse being High King, Tim Yakteen barn. Tim Yakteen puts Jeremy Laprida on the horse. Now, I'm going to give Laprida a shot here. I've not been a big fan of Laprida over the years, but we're going to give Laprida a shot here, and maybe Laprida could win a race here in this spring meet here. Yakteen brings this horse off a long layoff. Last time we saw this horse was December of 23, but he was running as a 2-year-old. So certainly a lot of changes with this horse since then. This horse has been since gelded. This will be first time Lasix. Horse has shown some okay workouts, 6-1 in the program. Like I said, I don't think there's a field of standouts. So, certainly a horse like this can come off a layoff. Yakteen certainly can get a horse, running off a layoff and running fresh. 6-1, we'll put High King in here. And then finally, I'm going to put the 7, who is Oakley Smile. Francisco Rodriguez and Diego Herrera takes the call. Now, Rodriguez barn has done well with very limited starters, 3 of 13. So that's a nice record there. And, it's 1 out of 2 first time out. So it's a newer barn. Trainer looks like he gets his horses ready. 7-2 in the program. Diego Herrera on the horse. This horse is, shows some nice workouts, and, we'll put this horse in here. Maybe this horse can pop as a first starter. So we've got the 2, 3, 4, and 7. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the tickets. Okay, so today for Friday, April 18th, we've got a late pick 5 ticket and a couple win bets. The late pick 5 starts in the 5th race. So in the 5th race, we're going to start this off with 3, 4, 6, 8. With the 3, Quick Brown Fox. With the 2, 6. With the 1, 2, 7. With the 2, 3, 4, and 7. Now this ticket cost $48. And then also we've got the win bets. In the 6th race, we've got the 3, Quick Brown Fox. And in the 7th race, we've got the 6, Royal Charter. So if you want to play this ticket as is, be my guest. Good luck to you if you want to add or subtract. If you want to play the pick 3s within it, play the pick 4. That late pick 3, that $3 pick 3, always nice. Even if that turf pick 3 is appealing to you. Whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck today. Let's wish ourselves some good trips and some good luck today as well. And let's wish the folks over at Santa Anita a very safe day of racing for their opening day of the Hollywood meet. Safe racing to you folks. And, as always, I thank you so much for watching Fast Horses today. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't done so already, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It puts you on the feed, doesn't cost you anything. When new content gets created, gets sent over to you. You can like, dislike, make comments. I promise to respond to everything. Let's have a great day and start out this meet on Good Friday. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow for more coverage.